Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into the incredibly long and layered history of a land known as Palestine. We're going to trace its story, based on our source material, all the way from the dawn of civilization to the very complex realities of today. So let's get started.
So how did this happen? How did one ancient piece of land become a holy place for three major world religions and a symbol of modern conflict? That's really the big question we're tackling today. We're going to unpack all those layers of history, the empires, the faiths, the conflicts, to try and understand how this small but vital place came to mean so much to so many.
And to really get a handle on the present, we've got to go way, way back, right to the very beginning, when this land was one of the cradles of civilization.
You have to understand, its location was everything. In ancient texts, it was called Canaan, and look where it is, smack dab between Asia, Africa, and Europe. Think of it less as just a place to live and more like a superhighway that every major empire in the ancient world absolutely had to control. That strategic importance, well, it set the stage for centuries of conquest.
And wow, this timeline really shows you what that meant in practice. Just look at this list. From Egyptian pharaohs to Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Alexander the Great, and then the Romans, power was constantly changing hands here. And each empire, they all left their mark, right? They left behind layers of culture, language, and belief that created this incredibly complex identity we're still trying to understand today.
But over time, this land became so much more than just a strategic piece of real estate. It evolved into a spiritual center for a huge part of the world. And right at the heart of it all is one city, Jerusalem, or Al-Quds, as it's known in Arabic.
I mean, for billions of people, this single city is the center of their spiritual universe. For Jews, it's the city of David, the site of their most holy temple. For Christians, it's where the most important events in Jesus' life, his crucifixion and resurrection, took place. And for Muslims, it was their very first direction of prayer, and where the Prophet Muhammad is believed to have ascended to heaven. So the key thing to grasp here is, this isn't just about territory. For so many, it's sacred ground.
And that spiritual gravity, well, it only got stronger over the centuries. The next major era brought a new faith into the mix, and with it came incredible periods of art and culture, but also some truly intense conflict.
So, in the 7th century, everything changes again. Islam arrives, and a whole new chapter begins. Under these massive Islamic empires or caliphates, Jerusalem saw another great flourishing. This is when two of Islam's most breathtaking and iconic structures were built, the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. These weren't just beautiful buildings, they were powerful statements about the city's enduring holiness. But yeah, this era was anything but peaceful. The 11th century kicked off the Crusades. We're talking 200 years of really brutal warfare between East and West, all fighting for control of Jerusalem. This violent period hit a major turning point in 1187, when the legendary Muslim commander Salah ad-Din, or Saladin, retook the city. That victory cemented his place in history as a symbol of justice and honor.
So after all that conflict, a new power steps onto the scene, bringing with it a remarkable period of stability. For over 400 years, the massive Ottoman Empire ruled Palestine. This was a long stretch of relative peace, a time when cities like Nablus, Gaza, and of course Jerusalem really thrived as centers for trade, for learning, and for faith.
But, all empires eventually fade. And as the Ottoman Empire began to crumble at the start of the 20th century, a new dynamic emerged. European powers became more and more influential, and that set the stage for a chain of events that would forever change the game and light the spark of the conflict we see today.
Okay, this next part is absolutely critical. In 1917, you have the Balfour Declaration. This was a promise from Great Britain to support a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire was gone, and Britain was in control, under what was called the British Mandate. This period saw a huge increase in Jewish immigration, mostly from Europe, and this began to fundamentally shift the demographics of the land. Then comes 1948. Britain pulls out. The United Nations comes in with a plan to partition, or basically slice, Palestine into two states, a Jewish one and an Arab one. Jewish leaders accepted it, but Arab leaders rejected it. In May of 1948, Israel declared its independence, and war broke out almost immediately.
And the result of that war, well, it was an earthquake for the Palestinian people. During the fighting, more than 750,000 Palestinians either fled or were forced from their homes. They became refugees, scattered across neighboring countries, and even within the new borders of this land.
For Palestinians,
This event has a name, the Nakba. It's an Arabic word that means the catastrophe. And that one word really captures the deep, collective trauma of losing a homeland, a trauma that continues to define the Palestinian experience to this very day.
And the conflict didn't end there, not by a long shot. In 1967, the Six-Day War ends with Israel occupying the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, putting millions of Palestinians under military rule. This occupation fueled decades of resistance, including two major uprisings called intifadas. The first, in the late 80s, became famous for images of young Palestinians fighting with stones. The second, starting in 2000, was much more violent, leading to years of terrible bloodshed for both sides.
Now, it wasn't all just conflict. There were real attempts to find peace. But as we're about to see, trying to find a lasting solution has been incredibly difficult.
And the biggest of these attempts was probably the Oslo Accords in 1993. I mean, this was a huge moment, filled with so much hope. It created the Palestinian Authority and gave a glimpse of limited self-rule. But the reality on the ground? It told a very different story. The occupation didn't end. Israeli settlements in the occupied territories kept expanding, and the siege on Gaza created a massive humanitarian crisis. The promise of peace? Well, it pretty much remained just a promise.
And yet, through all of this turmoil, one thing has never wavered: the deep, unshakable connection to the land. Palestine's national poet Mahmoud Darwish put it perfectly with these words. They're a powerful reminder that beyond all the politics and the headlines, this is about a homeland, a place that makes life worth living.
So what do you take away from all this? Maybe it's this simple, powerful idea. The story of this land isn't over. Far from it. It's a story of incredible resilience, a story of identity, and of a people's unending hope that one day their homeland can finally live in peace.